Coming up on tonight's show, the secret reason Trump is taking out Venezuelan fishermen left and right. Spoiler alert, it's because he sold out the big fish stick. Plus, the U.S. is sending billions to Argentina's Javier Milei because he's amazing and awesome and really quite good at using our money. That's totally it. Plus, Israel's Mossad joins the show. Not a surprise since they love this show as much as they love their butthole chlamydia. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Unredacted Tonight. I'm the most censored comedian in the semi-United States, Lee Camp. As you know, Donald Trump is helping to stop the narco-terrorism off the coast of Venezuela. The U.S. has acknowledged killing dozens of Venezuelan drug runners in these horrible drug boats. Thank you, America. If Trump hadn't exploded those drugs, I would have gladly and dangerously snorted them. And don't shed a tear for these evil Venezuelans because, well, they're Venezuelan. It's disgusting. Oh, wait. The U.S. released the two survivors of one military strike on a suspected drug vessel in the Caribbean to their home countries of Ecuador and Colombia. Ecuador and Colombia? Not Venezuela? I'm no expert when it comes to the geometry, but those sound like different countries. Well, whatever. All the others we've killed were evil Venezuelan drug superlords who hang out next to those drug-free school zone signs and try to shoot up your kids with fentanyl. They don't even care about the signs. Believe that shit? Chad Joseph and Rishi Samaru from the fishing village of Las Cuevas in northern Trinidad are thought to be among 6 people killed in a U.S. airstrike on a boat. Or they were Trinidadian fishermen from a small fishing village. Well, fine, but I bet those Ecuadorians and Colombians we murdered were evil drug pin king lords. Ecuador has released the survivors, saying there was no evidence of a connection to drugs. No connection? He didn't even have like a Dora the Explorer vitamin up his butt or something? Well, fine. Maybe they weren't drug kingpins, but give me a second. Overfishing is a serious problem in our oceans. I'm fed up with it. Nearly 80% of the world's fisheries are already fully exploited, overexploited, depleted, or in a state of collapse. So, I am all for capital punishment for fishermen. Bomb the shit out of them, okay? Nuke them, shoot them from the skies, send F-35 fighter jets after them. We all know Trump is an environmentalist, and thank God we finally have a president with the gonads to blow up young men trying to catch some fish for their families. Trump himself gave that very explanation for why he's wanted war with Venezuela for a long time.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
Or maybe we're doing it for the oil. But that can't be true. Venezuela doesn't even have oil. How much does it have? Gary, you got something on that? Throw it on the screen. Here we go. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves on Earth. On Earth? They probably mean the other Earth, not this one. Well, like I just said, Venezuela has tons of oil, which is why we're dismembering their fishermen to stop the drugs from getting in the way of the oil that we don't at all want. I mean, it's obvious when you just lay it out like that. Or maybe Trump misspoke, okay? He's got a lot on his mind. Sometimes it happens. This has nothing to do with oil, and no other representative of the U.S. government has ever said anything about Venezuela's oil.
We're in conversation with major American companies now that are either in Venezuela or, in the case of Citgo, here in the United States. I think we're trying to get to the same end result here. You know, Venezuela is one of the three countries I call the troika of tyranny. It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela.
Except for John Bolton, who at that time of saying that was Trump's national security advisor. But there's no one else who has said anything about oil.
One of the reasons that we have, I guess twice now, given a license to Chevron and a number of service companies is precisely to make it easier for them to help in the recovery of oil production after the regime is replaced.
Except for Elliot Abrams, who at that time was serving as Trump's special representative for Venezuela. But look, they were all just kidding around. It has nothing to do with oil or the petrodollar, which we're technically not even allowed to say on television or on videos or on... What's that? Yeah, I know. I didn't say it. I said I didn't. I said I wasn't going to say it. No, I'm not saying petrodollar. What do you mean I did it again? I said I'm not saying it. Jesus. Anyway, this large-scale war escalation against a small Latin American country that doesn't do shit to us is clearly, as I said, about protecting fish. In fact, the U.S. and particularly the Trump administration have a long history of trying to stop overfishing. Here's another example. This is Secretary of State Rex Tillerson speaking during the first Trump administration.
They have had over 100 North Korean fishing boats that have drifted into Japanese waters. 2/3 of the people on those boats have died. They weren't trying to escape. And the ones that didn't die, they wanted to go back home, so they sent them back to North Korea. But what they learned is they're being sent out in the wintertime to fish because there's food shortages. And they're being sent out to fish with inadequate fuel to get back. So we're getting a lot of evidence that these sanctions are really starting to hurt.
Yes, we were murdering poor, starving North Korean fishermen in order to protect the planet. Gotta protect those fish. As everyone knows, Trump is a staunch vegan. Yes, he goes to McDonald's every day, but he only eats the napkins. It couldn't be any more clear that Trump's recent bombings and his admission that he authorized the CIA to go nuts in Venezuela are all part of an effort to care for our ocean life. He has no interest in harming Venezuela's sovereignty or freedom, and Trump's allies like Lindsey Graham could tell you that as well.
I had a chat with you this weekend, and I thought you had a pretty darn good idea, and you said you were going to share it with the president. I want to know if you did, and that is this opposition leader in Venezuela that won the Nobel Prize that said it really deserved to go to Donald Trump. Sounds like a pretty good leader to me for the people of Venezuela and the end of narco-terrorism and a better relationship with the U.S. Or if they choose maybe the 51st state, I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
Or maybe we'll coup Venezuela and put in that Nobel Peace Prize winner as the president and then make it the 51st state. We could do that too. Of course, that won't stop Trump from going to war with it because last I checked, he's at war with at least 7 to 10 U.S. states and at least 3 U.S. presidents. But one thing you can't deny is that Nobel Peace Prize winner is a wonderful lady. Just the other day, Maria Corina Machado told Netanyahu personally over the phone that she greatly appreciates his achievements. Can't disagree with that. Genocide takes a lot of work, people. It's not easy, okay? A lot of folks act like, oh, simple. Yeah, nah, get it done in an afternoon. No, it's work. And Machado knows that because she's hoping to do it to Venezuelans. Unfortunately, the Nobel Peace Prize judges, they don't have an army or nothing. They really need one. They need some force there. Nobody fears them like they should. We move now to the vibrant and bubbling country of Argentina. My God, are they doing great? You'll recall that a couple of years ago, an exuberant and wildly attractive leader came to power, Javier Milei. I mean, wow. Look at that. Looks like a hot young gremlin with Elvis sideburns. He's a self-described libertarian anarchist, and everyone has been understandably thrilled at what he's done for Argentina. Privatizing everything, cutting taxes for the wealthy, slashing government benefits for the poor. In fact, not only did they do away with government assistance for the elderly, they actually have a program now where the government just pushes over those people on the sidewalks. It's real thinking outside the box stuff. After Milei was elected, Elon Musk said prosperity is ahead for Argentina. Then a year later, he said, I recommend investing in Argentina. And of course, Trump has also celebrated Milei's job well done.
Javier, I'd like to congratulate you on the job you've done for Argentina. Your speech was beautiful, but the job you've done is incredible. Make Argentina great again. You know, MAGA. He's a MAGA person.
There you have it, folks. Harsh austerity and privatizing everything in your country works. It's doing great. The debate is over. Argentina proved it. Oh, okay. We have one more clip of Trump. This is from just a few days ago.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
Or they're dying. Yay! Free market capitalism. Well, that's Donald Trump. He's always lying, right? Let's hear what the New York Times says. In recent weeks, Mr. Milei found himself facing an economic meltdown so severe, investors began panic selling Argentina's currency, the peso, and ditching Argentine assets that it fueled panic over a possible default on the nation's enormous international loans and prompted Trump to throw Argentina a lifeline by offering a $20 billion bailout. Looks like sound economic policy. Milei's incredible free market makeover for Argentina has required a $20 billion gift from Trump just to keep them afloat. Man, the free market sure does love socialism, weirdly. Kind of like the bank bailout in 2008, the auto bailout, the 2020 COVID bailout of Wall Street. Sorry, that's not called a bailout. It was the Federal Reserve providing liquidity to the financial system. Totally different thing. So let me see if I have this right. Argentina is struggling because they have a lunatic president. We send them $20 billion. Venezuela is struggling thanks to our economic war on them, and we bomb their fishermen. Sounds fair and just. Well, okay, investors are struggling in Argentina, but maybe the regular folks, the real people, are doing fine. Back to the New York Times. Nearly a third of Argentines live in poverty, as cuts to subsidies for transportation, soup kitchens, and medications have made it harder to make ends meet. Soup kitchens? They thought they were going to fix their hundreds of billions of dollars of debt by getting rid of soup kitchens? How much did that save them? Like 75 cents? Wonder if they got the people who push over the seniors on the sidewalks to also knock over the pots of soup. That's called government efficiency right there. Well, at least this shitstorm in Argentina doesn't have any connection to the U.S. Except for the fact that the hugely popular former Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner almost definitely would have won the presidency, except she was taken out of the running by a U.S.-backed lawfare coup that got her convicted on laughable corruption charges. As former president of Ecuador, Rafael Correa, said about his own U.S.-led lawfare coup, none of this could have happened without not only the consent, but the active involvement of the U.S. Embassy. Their participation was obvious and shameless. This also happened with Lula da Silva, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, Evo Morales. Like the Condor Plan of the 1970s, dictatorship coordination in Uruguay, Chile, Argentina, it wasn't a coincidence. It was coordinated from the north. Anyway, long story short, Argentina doing great. You should invest in it, honestly. It's a free market heaven. And the United States should do exactly like Argentina because they are thriving.
They are dying. All right? They're dying.
Yeah. And now, please welcome to the show, the Mossad. Gary, we need to talk about your guest booking.
What?
But before we get to that, some quick info, fun little tidbits about Israel and their ongoing genocide in Gaza. Sorry, it's not a genocide, it's a ceasefire. Following a genocide. I feel like that's a key component. Why is no one mentioning that? We all know that Israel has killed hundreds of thousands in Gaza. Even after they released over 1,700 Palestinian hostages that they were holding, they still have at least 9,000 hostages in their prisons, and they've completely and utterly destroyed the entirety of Gaza. Hell, even vacant-eyed horror movie doll-faced Jared Kushner will tell you that.
You decide to go to Gaza. Mm-hmm. And what did you see?
It looked almost like a nuclear bomb had been set off in that area. And then you see these people moving back. And I asked the IDF, where are they going? Like, I'm looking around, these are all ruins. And they said, well, they're going back to the areas where their destroyed home was, onto their plot, and they're going to pitch a tent. And it's very sad because you think to yourself, they really have nowhere else to go.
See? Even that lunatic says it's a genocide. I mean, basically, isn't that what he's saying there?
They really have nowhere else to go.
Would you say now, having been there, that it was genocide?
No. No.
Oh, it's not a genocide. What exactly was it then? A renovation? Anyway, I bring this up because I would love for everyone to stop congratulating Trump for only committing 9 months of genocide. Why is everyone acting like this wasn't also the doing of the good old US of A? Am I saying the US runs Israel? Maybe. Or perhaps it's Israel that runs the US. Here's retired US Army Colonel and former Chief of Staff for Secretary of State Colin Powell, Lawrence Wilkerson.
I watched Mossad take over the Pentagon in 2002. The Pentagon was infiltrated by Mossad. They did not need any identification to get through the river entrance of the building. They went upstairs to Douglas Feith, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, the third most powerful man in the Defense Department. Occasionally, they went to the second most powerful man, Paul Wolfowitz, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and they had run of the Pentagon. Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, said to my boss one time, hell, I don't run my building. Mossad does.
Wow. Thanks, Lawrence. Kind of wish you would have told us this 25 years ago. But still, good enough. Thank you. So the Mossad seems to be running a lot of the show, and they've never been held accountable for anything. They committed one of the largest, most flagrant terror attacks in modern history. They blew up the pagers in thousands of people's pockets in Lebanon, and people in the West act like, it's fine. Yeah, they killed children, doctors, nurses, totally chill. Because Lebanon is where the terrorists are. So just go ahead and blow anyone up over there. Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes did a glowing interview with Mossad about how awesome their terror attack was. And yes, this video is real. I know it sounds like AI, but that's because the Mossad guy used a fake voice because he doesn't want his mom to know he's a terrorist. She thinks he's a manager in an office supply store. Anyway, play the clip.
How did you convince Hezbollah to buy this?
Well, obviously, they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from, or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel, shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor.
But he's not done bragging about how sweet their murder cult is. It goes on to explain how we are all living in Mossad's world.
We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
Okay, I feel much better. We're just living in a pretend world run by Israel's bloodthirsty assassins. Wonderful. You'll excuse me, I'm gonna go hug my kid now until he says, Dada, that's too tight. So as we see from CBS 60 Minutes, one way to defend Israel's genocide is to say, Mossad is amazeballs, doing great work. Let's now check out another way to defend Israel's ethnic cleansing. It's Bill Maher's new tactic of saying Israel's genocide doesn't matter because there are other genocides that matter more, specifically ones I made up.
The fact that this issue has not gotten on people's radar.
Right, no one's talking about it.
It's pretty amazing. If you don't know what's going on in Nigeria, your media sources suck. You are in a bubble. Not, and again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
Yeah! What about the Christian genocide in Nigeria? Well, first of all, even if what Bill Maher says is true, it's not, Israel would still be committing genocide, you bag of suck! Secondly, even the outlets trying to do pro-Christian, pro-Israel propaganda don't say 100,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria. Vatican News says it's over 50,000. So Bill Maher is pushing bigger Christian propaganda than the Vatican. But not even that 50,000 Christian genocide is true. Here's the truth. Nigeria has faced brutal Islamist insurgencies led by Boko Haram and its offshoot, Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP. Not to be confused with WAP. Really not to be confused with WAP. WAP has never genocided Christians. I don't think. Back to the quote. The reality is that these terrorists are indiscriminate in their violence. Most of Boko Haram's victims have been Muslims, despite the group's hostility to Christians. Operating mainly in the predominantly Muslim Northeast, Boko Haram has slaughtered thousands of Muslims, including clerics, village heads, and civilians it deems apostates or opponents. They have bombed mosques, assassinated Muslim leaders, and killed Christians, demonstrating their indiscriminate violence. To characterize this as a strictly anti-Christian campaign is propaganda. Wow, this Christian genocide has been mostly against Muslims. Man, leave it to Boko Haram to really gaslight us. Who can really blame Bill Maher? He just fell for Boko Haram's clever trick of killing mostly Muslims during their clearly Christian genocide, which happens to also make Bill Maher think that genociding Gazans is fine because, he just has the mind of a toddler. That's all it is. I can't come up with anything else. Maybe he snorts a lot of glue. Maybe he was trying to clean out his nose with a chopstick on a bumpy car ride and accidentally lobotomized himself. It's tough to know. It's tough to know. Someone please do a wellness check on Bill Maher. His frontal lobe is dripping out his ears. And here are your headlines from the future. Coming up in 1 year, you'll learn Trump declares new White House gold-plated sex dungeon a legacy renovation. Trump will be like 9/11, I feel like. We'll never forget. And in just 1 month, we'll find out Pete Hegseth clarifies legality of Pentagon bombing naked bike riders in Portland. I mean, I would assume all the genitalia being displayed was Marxist genitalia, so of course course, you got to take them out. And finally, in late November, the New York Times food section will report on how to use avocado toast as a defensive weapon. Brunch is no time to relax, people, all right? Head on a swivel. That's the show. But real quick, a lot of people have been enjoying my weekly columns on Substack. You can subscribe for free at reallycamp.substack.com. Also, I have a live stand-up comedy show coming up, New York City, December 12th with John F. O'Donnell from Redacted Tonight. It's at the Cobra Club in Brooklyn. It's going to be a lot of fun. Grab your tickets at tinyurl.com/Lee Cobra Club. Okay, I'll see you next Thursday. The revolution will have laughter. Keep fighting.